The morning shift at Mining Station Theta 7 began like any other. The endless hum of drills echoed through the long metal corridors, while loaders dragged heavy crates of ore toward the cargo bays. The station floated silently above a lonely asteroid belt, a place where humans and aliens worked side by side, scraping out a living from rock and ice. Kareem Hassan, a human engineer, adjusted his oxygen recycler in the maintenance bay. He had been fixing machines here for almost 6 years, and nothing surprised him anymore. He had seen broken drills, leaky pipes, even fistfights in the mess hall. Life on the edge of the galaxy was hard, but it was steady. Then the alarm sounded. A low, shuddering wail cut across the station, followed by the heavy clang of emergency shutters sealing. Lights flickered. The ground shook. Kareem froze, staring through the viewing port. His breath caught in his throat. They had come. From the darkness of the asteroid field, the Karak raiders emerged. Their ships, black and sleek, moved like predators hunting prey. They were covered in sharp fins and glowing red lights, the kind of design meant to inspire fear before a single shot was fired. Inside the plaza, people gathered in panic. Humans, Zarians, Kishani, and other species pushed close together, their voices rising in fear. Mothers pulled their children close, workers looked around for escape, and everyone knew escape was impossible. The Karak didn't leave survivors if you resisted. The first shuttle docked with a hiss, and armored soldiers poured out. Their bodies were covered in black exoskeleton armor, their insect-like faces hidden behind ridged masks. Each carried an energy weapon, humming with the kind of power that could melt steel. The leader stepped forward, taller and broader than the rest. His mandibles clicked together as his translator spoke in a guttural voice. 10 specimens, he announced, his tone cruel and calm. 10 of your healthiest for our fighting pits. Refuse, and we take 50. The crowd shivered. Everyone knew what that meant. The Karak didn't want money. They didn't want ore. They wanted lives. The young, the strong, the healthy. Those who would survive longest in their gladiator arenas, screaming and bleeding for the entertainment of their empire. Kareem stood still, watching from the shadows of the maintenance bay. His jaw tightened. He had seen the Karak before, years ago, during a supply run to Kepler. He remembered the fear, the hopelessness. But this time, it was happening on his station, to his people. The soldiers moved through the crowd, their scanners beeping as they searched for prime candidates. A hush fell when one device beeped sharply in front of a small Zarian child. Her name was Lyra. She was barely 5 in human years, her body shimmering with soft blue bioluminescence that pulsed faster as fear gripped her. Her big eyes, filled with tears, clung desperately to her mother's arm. Her mother, Celine, wrapped herself around her daughter. Her skin had turned a deep purple, a sign of profound distress in her species. She begged, her words spilling out so fast the translator struggled to keep up. No, please, not her. She is only 5. Take me instead. I am strong. I can fight. She is just a child. The Karak soldier's laugh was cold, a sound like metal grinding on stone. He leaned close, his claw reaching for the girl. Children adapt faster, he hissed. They forget their old lives. They obey quicker. She will grow strong. The crowd gasped. Some turned away. Others wept silently. Nobody dared move. Nobody dared speak. Until one voice rang out. Hold on there, friend. The words cut across the plaza like a blade. Every head turned. Kareem Hassan stepped forward from the shadows, his mining suit hissing softly with each step. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't armed with advanced weapons. He carried only a wrench, heavy and oil-stained. Yet there was something in the way he moved, slow, calm, unafraid, that made everyone stop and watch. The commander's gaze fixed on him, sharp and predatory. A human, he spat. Your kind has no authority here. This is Karak space. Kareem's helmet folded back with a hiss, revealing his face. He was not young. His skin bore the marks of years under harsh lights, his dark eyes steady and unreadable. He looked like a man who had seen too much, but who still stood firm. Actually, Kareem said, his voice calm, this station runs under Terran Consortium rights. Section 847B of Galactic Law forbids forced conscription in commercial zones. The commander's mandibles clicked with anger. Your laws mean nothing to us. Maybe not, Kareem admitted. He took a slow step closer. But your reputation does. The Korak soldiers shifted uneasily. They knew this game. Reputation was everything. Strength was everything. And here was one human, standing against all of them, speaking as if he was the one in control. The great Korak Empire, Kareem continued, his voice steady but sharp, reduced to stealing children from mining stations. Do you know what the other clans will say? Do you know how they will laugh? The commander's eyes narrowed, mandibles twitching. You dare insult us? I question your intelligence, Kareem said flatly. Another step forward. His boots echoed on the plaza floor. Humans have long memories. Every time someone hurts our friends, every time someone threatens our neighbors, we remember, and we don't forgive. He gestured toward Celine and her daughter, then toward the entire crowd. These people are not just workers, not just trade partners. They are our neighbors, our friends, and humanity protects its friends. The commander snarled. One human against my entire crew. Kareem's lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. The crowd stayed. They knew that smile. They had seen it on humans before, right before they did something reckless, something impossible. Commander, Kareem said softly, have you heard of the Battle of Kepler 442? 4 to 7 humans against 3,000 of your warriors. Or the Siege of New Mumbai, where a single human engineer held off your fleet for 6 hours using nothing but mining tools. We don't start fights, but we finish them. The plaza went silent. The hum of the weapons, the thrum of the life support systems, everything seemed louder in the quiet. The commander studied him for a long moment. His claws flexed. His soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. Finally, he hissed, low and dangerous. You would risk your life for alien spawn. Kareem didn't blink. Every time. That's what makes us human. The words hung in the air like fire. The soldiers froze. The crowd held its breath. For a moment, the station felt like the center of the galaxy. Everything balanced on one human's defiance. The plaza on Theta 7 was so silent it almost felt frozen. Every eye watched the standoff. One human with nothing but a mining chute and a wrench against an entire squad of armed Korak raiders. The tension hung thick in the recycled air. Even the life support system seemed to hum quieter, as if the station itself was holding its breath. The Korak commander's mandibles twitched. His soldiers shifted uneasily, claws flexing around their energy rifles. They were waiting for an order. Attack. Kill. Bane this human down. But something in Kareem's eyes made them hesitate. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't even bravery. It was certainty. The commander let out a long hiss that echoed in the translator. Slowly, he raised his claw. Stand down, he ordered. The soldiers froze, confused. The crowd gasped. Weapons lowered. This station, the commander declared, is under human protection. We will take our tribute elsewhere. The Korak turned and began to retreat, their armor clicking as they marched back toward their shuttle. The crowd remained silent, almost disbelieving, until the doors hissed shut and the ships peeled away into the black of space. Only then did the plaza erupt. Voices rose in a flood of relief and astonishment. Mothers sobbed into their children's hair. Wakers clapped each other on the shoulders. Aliens with bioluminescent skin shone with golden gratitude. And at the center of it all, Kareem stood, still calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. Celine staggered toward him, her little girl clutched tightly in her arms. She dropped to her knees in front of him, her skin trembling with shifting colors of shock and relief. Why, she whispered, her translator catching her words. Why risk your life for us? Kareem knelt so he could meet her daughter's eyes. The little girl hid her face at first, then peeked out, her glowing skin flickering softly. Gently, Kareem held out his gloved hand. Because neighbors look out for each other, he said simply. The child placed a tiny scaled hand on his glove. Her glow shifted to a warm gold, the color of gratitude among her people. She looked up at him with wide eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Human." Kareem smiled. "My name is Kareem." Around them, the station slowly began to breathe again. The danger had passed, but the moment would not be forgotten. The story of what happened spread quickly, first through whispers in the plaza, then across the station, and by the end of the shift, through every communication channel available. By the next day, the outer rim itself was buzzing. A single human had stood against the Karak raiders, and they had backed down. Messages poured into Theta 7 from nearby stations. Humans cheered, proud that one of their own had proven once again why their species had survived so long. Aliens sent messages of respect and thanks, marveling at the human willingness to fight for others, even those not of their kind. On the Karak side, the story spread as well, though in darker tones. To back down from a challenge was considered weakness. Rumors whispered that the commander would be punished by his own empire for showing hesitation. Yet others argued that it had not been weakness, it had been fear. Fear of a human who spoke of battles where the impossible had been done. For Kareem, life didn't return to normal. Wherever he went on the station, people stopped to thank him. Aliens bowed their heads, children waved shyly, workers nodded with respect. Kareem didn't see himself as a hero. He was just a man doing what he felt was right. But to everyone else, he had become a symbol. One night, a meeting was held in the plaza. Humans, Zarians, Kishani, and others gathered together. They spoke not of fear, but of unity. For the first time in years, they discussed forming a defense council, not just for Theta 7, but for all the nearby colonies. "If one man can make raiders tame back," an old miner said, his voice shaking with emotion, "then imagine what all of us can do together." Celine stood as well, her daughter by his side. Her skin glowed faintly gold as she spoke. "Today, one human saved my child. Tomorrow, we can save each other. No more standing alone. No more waiting to be taken." The crowd erupted in agreement. Hope had replaced fear. Kareem listened quietly from the edge of the gathering. He didn't speak, didn't raise his hand. But in his chest, he felt something heavy lift. Maybe this was what humanity was meant to bring to the galaxy. Not just ships, not just weapons, but the courage to stand, to remind others that fear could be broken. Days later, official word came from Earth. The Terran Consortium declared Theta 7 a protected zone. Patrol ships were dispatched. For the first time in memory, the miners didn't feel forgotten. They felt seen. But the most powerful part wasn't the patrols or the loss. It was the story. Across human space and far beyond, the tale of Kareem Hassan spread. People repeated it in cargo docks, in smoky taverns, in schoolyards. They told it in different languages, with different details, but always the same heart. A raider reached for a child. A mother begged. A human stood up and said no. And the galaxy listened. On some distant world, an alien merchant repeated the story to her son, and he glowed gold with admiration. On another station, a human captain told it to his crew before they went on patrol, reminding them why they served. Even in the dark holes of Karak territory, whispers of Kareem's defiance stirred unease. Celine's daughter, little Lyra, never forgot either. In the days after, she often saw Kareem out, following him in the maintenance bay, asking endless questions about machines, about stars, about humans. She glowed brightly whenever she saw him, and he always greeted her with the same gentle smile. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed to mimic dusk, Lyra tugged on his sleeve. "Mr. Kareem," she asked softly, "were you afraid?" Kareem paused, thinking carefully before answering. Finally, he crouched down and met her gaze. "Yes," he admitted. "I was afraid. But I was more afraid of doing nothing. Sometimes, being human means standing up even when you're scared." She nodded slowly, her glow warm and steady. Years later, people would say this was the day the balance of power in the Outer Rim began to shift. Not because of fleets, not because of weapons, but because of a memory that reminded everyone, human and alien, that courage could live in the unlikeliest of places, even in a single engineer on a mining station. And so, Long after the ships vanished into the void, the story remained. A mother's desperate cry, a child's trembling glow, and a human who refused to stand aside.